Welcome to SEV0, everyone. Thank you for being here. This marks our second annual SEV0 in San Francisco. And we have a few hundred people here from some of the best companies in the world. And you're all very busy. I appreciate you spending the entire day with us. And I want to do a quick check. How many people from the audience were at SEV0 last year? Raise your hand. Oh, heartwarming stuff. Well, fantastic to have you here. I know some people, I think, Dara, you've flown from Ireland to be here? Yes, amazing. So thank you so much for the effort. So it's been a year since the last SEV0, and I want to take some time to walk you through a bunch of the changes that have happened with incidents since the last SEV0. So we're now nearly at 1,300 customers, and this is a count that's continuing to grow every single month rapidly. And if you think about, okay, the incidents that we help them solve, we're now at really 500,000 real incidents solved on our platform. And if you think about the stress of just a single incident, you can go back and you can sweat thinking about it. We have now resolved, or helped resolve, I would say, a huge amount of collective stress in the world. And when things go wrong, you need to talk to your customers about it. And with our Status Pages product, we're now serving nearly 500 million views to our Status Pages every year, which is amazing. And all of that combined has meant that our customers sort of have decided to use Incident more. So we're now at 82% of our customers not using just one product, but 2 or more products across our platform. And that, as sort of a reflection of that momentum, you may have seen earlier this year that we raised a Series B. And we ended up raising $62 million. That brings us to about $100 million total. But we also have the chain smokers as our investors. So if you ever wanted to be woken up at 2 a.m. By their dulcet tones, I mean, maybe some of you have been up until 2 a.m. listening to the chain smokers in Vegas, you can use Incident.io on call. But I know the crowd I'm talking to. No one cares about fundraising. It's boring. It's a means to an end. And I wanted to sort of cover okay, but what is that end? Why do we raise money in the first place? And to us, it's just about building stuff, honestly. We get to build more, and we get to build faster. And I wanted to pick some of the favorite things that we'd shipped over the past year. So first up is Scribe. Scribe is it does what it says on the tin. You would usually have some highly paid, somewhat tired engineer listening to things and typing stuff out whilst they're on a call. We now have an agent who will sit inside your Zoom and your Google Meet calls. It will both transcribe things, but also send out key updates on your behalf. And it also can translate to any different language as well, which is kind of wild. We then have @incident. So you can interact with our product by using / commands and Slack forms, and that's totally fine. But if you just want to say, as you would to a coworker, @incident, can you send out an update for me? You can go do that. And both of these things together, I think, are magical. And Pete's going to do a live demo for you later. We then have Teams as a first-class concept. So this is not Microsoft Teams, although we do support that. This is the idea that so much of your incident data and the way that you manage incidents is kind of team-bound. You have teams that own services. You have teams that are on call for different things. And now you have clear overviews of who owns what, the amount of workload they're taking on with incidents, all of their on-call rotations, and that's been amazing. And then we also now integrate with ServiceNow. So if any of you are directly running your incidents on ServiceNow, you can just run them on Incident, and we'll keep ServiceNow up to date. But we didn't stop there. That is not just 9 things that we've shipped. I looked at our deployments. We've done nearly 14,000 deploys or pull requests over the past year. And honestly, it feels like 500 or 600 in the past week as we've prepared for SEV0. But I literally can't fit it all on the slides. So this is just a taster of what we have done over the past year. But why are we even building this company in the first place? Why are me, Pete, Chris, and a bunch of people in the room giving up large portions of their career to go build this? And my background is as an engineer. So I was first line on call for one of the UK's fastest growing and largest banks. And when people care a lot about their money, if you can't buy things, that is a very bad incident. And as a result, we all knew how bad the status quo was. It was, a little bit of PagerDuty glued together with a lot of manual process and sort of hope, honestly. And we got so frustrated with this that we ended up building the platform that we always wanted. And 4 years later, I'm really proud to say that we're now the market leader. We are the largest in our space. We're the fastest growing for what we do. And if I look back, like, okay, why? What does that platform actually help you go achieve? And to me, it's all just about reliability. Like, the incident response process is crucial, but it's ultimately a means to the end. And what people really, really want is more reliable software. And a year ago, I stood up and I gave a keynote at SEV0. And as part of prepping for this, I looked through my slides. And I noticed that I mentioned sort of a little bit of AI here, like a sprinkle of AI over there. And if I think about, okay, but how do I think differently a year ago to now? I think my perspective on what AI can do for reliability has really, really shifted. I think it's not just this kind of incremental change in reliability. I think we can actually get a step change, and I'll walk you through like how I think we can get there. And I think you just have this amazing kind of impact on freeing humans to think ahead when things are going wrong. You can cut resolution time dramatically. This isn't 5%, but I'm talking upwards of 50%, I think, in some cases. And really, take scribing an incident. There's a lot of repetitive stuff that I don't think anyone particularly wants to do. And I think we can do a much better job of taking that off your hands. And you then have these processes in incidents that used to take you hours, and I genuinely think you can do them in seconds. So again, with Scribe, you just invite it to your incident call, and out comes great transcripts and updates. When it comes to the first 15 minutes of an incident, there's usually this kind of like octopus-like login to 15 different tools and Datadog dashboards and the last Jira ticket and have we seen this thing before? And I actually think that agents can do an amazing job of doing a sort of first pass, like scatter, gather all of that information together. And it's not just hallucinated, like it can all be cited back to the actual underlying data underneath it. And then, I've talked to a ton of engineering leaders, and one of the key things that I hear from them is that the post-incident process is just too hard. It feels a bit like bashing people over the head and asking them to do stuff. And I think it's just because, honestly, just writing a post-mortem or a debrief just takes too long. Like, you have to reconstitute all this information. And really, there's parts of a post-mortem that are kind of rote and just methodical, sort of what happened. And there's parts that humans are uniquely placed to build and do. And our job is really like, we can actually just prepare a huge amount of this rote stuff so you can focus on what you're specifically going to do. And again, this is not aspirational vision. This is not like it will be done in 2 years. This is Pete just after lunch showing you all of this in a live demo later. So excited to show you. Okay, Stephen, but AI is not this new thing over the past year. You're super late. Shouldn't you have talked about it last year? I disagree with that statement. And I'd say over the past year, there's really been some key breakthroughs that have enabled this kind of tick over, it wasn't good enough and we couldn't rely on it, to no, I now think this is the future. And I want to walk you through a few of the things that have changed. So there was this is not the first time a vendor like me has stood up in a room and talked to people like you. And I'm not trying to pretend that automation to improve software reliability is this insanely new or unobvious concept. And if you take the PagerDuty acquisition of Rundeck in 2020, so Rundeck was this platform that was about giving teams this self-service way that they could run steps to diagnose and remediate incidents through these kind of executable runbooks. And I think they were 100% on the right track. Like, this is definitely the direction that we should be going down. But it, in my humble opinion, sort of didn't really catch on to the extent that I think it should have. And why isn't that? And to me, it's about deterministic. And deterministic automation is really just too brittle, I think, for the richness and for the complexity of the issues that we're going to solve. So if you think about, shell scripts, they lack context, they lack intelligence, they can't adapt to new things. And I just don't think you can if this, then that your way to solving the problems that world-class SREs can do. And I'm not saying AI is a replacement for world-class SREs, but if you think about the gap between what we had I think AI is helping us wire in context to applications. It's helping us wire in intelligence to applications, and it's helping us wire in agency. And so the combination of those three things together, I think, changes the game in terms of what we're able to go build with our product, but then also like the impact that we can go have on reliability as well. And of course, we've seen ever improving performance with LLMs. We have a number of foundation model providers in the room. So, these people are building the apps that you spend every waking minute of your life using, myself included. And Dario for Anthropic gave this prediction 6 months ago that in 6 months, we're going to be in the place where AI is writing 90% or more of the code. So I want to do a sort of hot take-ometer, like who in the audience agrees with Dario? Go Tom. Who disagrees with Dario? Who didn't raise their hand? There we go. I personally think he's actually much closer to being right than he is to being wrong. I don't think he is totally right, but he's on the right direction. And again, at the risk of sounding like Captain Obvious, like there is a very fundamental shift that's going on with how we write software across the industry right now. And if I don't extrapolate, I just look at, go back to home, what are we doing in our organization? How are we using these tools? This is how we use Claude at Incident. So last SEV0, September, not even using it. In January, we're dipping our toe in the water, what's 100 million tokens between friends. And we're now at 15 billion tokens a month across our engineering team as we deploy Claude Code. And you're going to hear from Kushal from Anthropic later, which I think is going to be awesome. And we're now at this, we had dinner last night, and I was remarking that the difference in workflow between engineers 5 years ago was like, okay, well, some people use Vim, some people use JetBrains, but the actual workflow is pretty similar versus I would say now you have some people using Vim or JetBrains over here. But if I walk through our office in London, one of the engineers is transcribing through his AirPods into 8 different Claude codes that he then sets off, and then he makes a coffee. I'm like, okay, the world is fundamentally changing in terms of what I think and how people build these tools, which is wild to me. So I took the sort of brave decision, maybe foolish. We essentially now have an unlimited AI budget inside the company because I think it can drive so much productivity, not just in engineering, but around the wider organization. But there is no free lunch apart from if you're at SEV0. Lunch is free. So with technological change, there is both upside and downside. And if I think about what is the actual shift that's happening, we have essentially gone from software as artisanal, hand-baked craft to parts of software being commoditized by machines. And that means that there's just risks that we never had to worry about when humans were writing all the code that now we have to start thinking about. And I think, I'm not saying this is universally true, but I think we're starting to see the kind of green shoots of it, is that engineers can now ship faster than ever. Think of Rory with his 8 parallel Claude Code instances. But they're having to debug that code. And what this means is like the friction of writing code has gone down, and therefore the throughput, I think, has gone sort of non-linearly up. And that means that you have more complicated systems faster, and it means that you have less context on any single part of that system. And what that means is that engineers are going to spend more and more time debugging things that they have very little context on, which I think is going to drive the time to actually resolve these issues higher and higher, and it's going to drive reliability the wrong way. And this gets me on to what I think is the fastest growing new role we've seen in technology. Everyone, get out your LinkedIns, press the edit button, because I am going to declare that you all are now vibe coding cleanup specialists. Yeah, there you go. What a role. This is obviously kind of half real, but I think it taps into a vibe that we're feeling across the industry. And just to prove it, there are people on the internet calling themselves vibe coding cleanup specialists. So feel free to take inspiration and go further the cause. But Seriously, I think all of the focus really has been on tools that help us build software faster, but there has not been really any focus on tools that help us operate that software reliably. And there's a bit of this like, okay, AI on one side of the world. I feel like, honestly, you need AI on the other side of the world to kind of balance out some of the changes that are happening there. And this has led to this formation of a new category that people are calling AI SREs. And I think that opportunity is so core to our future and that we're incredibly well placed to go lead it. And I'll walk you through why in just a second. And I ended up reorganizing the entire company around this. So we have half of our entire product development team just working on agents. And then we have all of our product development team integrating AI to all aspects of our product. So I'll show you that in just a second. So we unveiled AI SRE back in July. What this is, in plain English, is focused on diagnosing issues and alerts that come into your organization, doing its best to provide a highly accurate root cause of what actually caused that issue, and then in circumstances where it has enough confidence, taking action to remediate that issue with a human in the loop. And our goal here is a step change in downtime and in reliability. And this is early. We're not promising that this can go solve all of the incidents autonomously and all of that side of the world, but we think it's a very, very good start. And anyway, speaking of hitting the snooze button, I would love to show you what life is like of someone that's migrating to AI SRE. So when Cheska was helping edit the video, my instructions, the first half of the video is just make people sweat. I feel like everyone in this room has had this kind of PTSD, like, oh my God, all the alerts are coming in, so stressed out. So yes, I'm really, really excited about what we're building there. And many of the team that helped build AI SRE are in the room today. So make sure you guys say hi. Again, we'll be back in school night demoing it so you can go play with it. And again, Pete's going to be running a 45-minute live demo later. We could do slides, we could do pre-recorded videos. That's really boring. If you saw the meta demo last week, pray for us. It might not be the wisest decision, but I think there's something serious under the hood there, which is like, there's just a lot of hype, hot air, vaporware. If you prod this thing the wrong way, it all falls over. And I think the only real way for us to demonstrate how substantial and real it is just to show it live. So we're excited to go do that after lunch. So if you asked me a year ago, like, how do I see the world of incident response, this is it. And I think what we ended up building was much better than the status quo of a paging tool, manual process and hope. And that's really propelled us to where we are today. But if I think about us as climbing a mountain, we're still at base camp. There's so much more that we can go build. And I think, honestly, we can go change the future of reliability, and I'm very excited to do it. So we are integrating aspects of AI into all of the platform. So if I think about, the first one of like, okay, first 15 minutes, engineers pulling open Datadog, telemetry, logs, past incidents, trying to just get an initial triage of what's going on. really, as soon as that alert comes in, we spring into action. So we're starting to root cause things even before you have, woken up, got your coffee, landed in the incident. And we're then sort of at the place where, we don't need you to just sort of manage all aspects of things. We're going to proactively suggest things like code fixes for you. And scribe, I mentioned it before, but this is such an important part of context in an incident that just often gets lost and thrown out and never used again. But with scribe, you can just transcribe, summarize, and share key updates, and you don't ever have to do anything about it. And instead of a world where you're just manually keeping these details up to date and just nudging little aspects of things, we can just observe the incident. We can draft updates for you and pop in at exactly the right time, and then make these suggestions to steer the incident in the right direction. And again, postmortems, debriefs, whatever you choose to call them, they are mostly a manual kind of compilation process right now, and they honestly just don't happen. And I think that's such a shame, because for me, it is the story of what happened. All of the sort of updates and things like that are snippets. It's a bit like a stream. You have to reconstitute the whole thing to understand what happened. The postmortem is like the story that's edited down. And there's so much signal that's lost because it's too hard to do. And what we can do, again, is sort of draft large parts of a postmortem in seconds for you. And my favorite new feature that we shipped recently is you can just talk to your postmortems. Like, you can ask questions about particular things, you can dive deeper into things. And for someone that doesn't know or can't remember what back-end connection pool draining from a load balancer is, I can just go talk to it, and I can explain, understand more, and understand more what's causing issues in our company. And the sum of this is, like, we're not trying to go end-to-end replacement. We think there's so much drudgery and dull work that people just don't need to do. But humans are a fundamental part of this, and we want to make you faster and more effective and just take all the dull work away from you. And that means that this is now the fourth product that we've ended up building in our platform alongside on-call, response, status pages, and now AI SRE. And with it, I'm going to commit publicly to a set of incredibly ambitious goals. So again, we're not trying to do like a 3% improvement in downtime here. I think there is so much space for quite a lot of incidents for you to dramatically cut downtime. So we want to shoot for up to 80% as our internal goal. Alert fatigue, I don't think this is just the problem to solve it. We will go and build more products around this, but that's what we want to fundamentally go solve. And the whole thing is, we have organizations in this room that are spending literally billions of dollars on engineers every year. Right now, 20 to 30% of that spend is just going on firefighting. We want to keep builders building stuff and not just firefighting. And again, we are not alone in this vision. I'm sure everyone in this room is getting pitched by dozens of vendors. You have the APM providers that are kind of where you store all of your metrics and your traces and your logs. We have the foundation model providers that are pushing more towards a world of models are all you need, and then you can use MCP to plug different things in. And obviously, we think slightly differently, and we're taking our bets in a particular direction. And I want to sort of posit that we are very well placed to go solve this for two key reasons. So first is that I think if you need to run incidents really well, you have to nail two things. So one is running the process of an incident. To me, this is communication, coordination, making sure everyone knows what they need to do. And then the second is fixing the thing that caused the problem in the first place, right? And AI SREs are really exclusively focused on that second problem, like what caused this issue and how can I help you understand what you need to do to fix it. But you've all been in incidents, right? You know that they are more complicated than, thing broke, fix thing, go back to work. And whether that's communication with your customers, whether that's internal coordination with your stakeholders, if it's mopping up the 56 migrations that you need to do to kind of finally close this incident out, you really need a strong process to go help drive all of that. And I think you need both, if you want to do it really well. So I think AI SREs are this necessary complement to the process, but they are not a replacement for it. And if you agree with me that, okay, we need to do both of these things well, I just don't think you need two different places to go do them in. It's all about incident response. They should just live in the same place. So we think they're much better together. And then there's this concept of, incidents are just one giant feedback loop in your organization. And I think it's the same for machines as it is for humans. So if you take, engineer that's just joined your company, I think it's a pretty safe bet that that engineer dropped into an incident on day 2 is going to be much more effective in month 3, month 6, month 12. And that's really just because of sort of context and them acclimatizing to the way we get things done here, or what does this random server, or this thing's called Atlas. What the hell does this thing actually do? And as a result, it's like understanding the context of your organization. And we see the same dynamic in practice. So when we go through AI SRE, and Lawrence will show you some of the tooling later, we're able to sort of factor out how much does telemetry matter, how much does logs matter, how much does sort of similar incidents and past incident data matter. And really the consistent thing we see is more historical incident data means more accurate sort of resolution over time. And this isn't me saying those things don't matter. It's more just like returns to scale. I think more logs and more traces and more metrics top out after a while. But to me, it is like the lattice of all of these things together that makes sort of the magic happen and for you to continually improving as you grow. So I'm going to do the old McKinsey 2x2 on you for a second. I'm very sorry about that. 2 axes. So there's like fixing things autonomously, and then there's running the process. And if I look at how the market is, we have the Resolves of the world, great team. They are very much entirely focused on just autonomously solving the problem. They're not running the process of an incident for you. You then have the Datadogs of the world that's sort of doing a little bit of both, but then also building a much wider platform. And then you have the Fire Hydrants of the world. So these are our peers. We respect them a lot. They have decided they're not building an AI SRE at all. They just want to go integrate with all the AI SREs. And after 4 years, we are now this leading incident response platform, and we want to go be the leading AI SRE solution as well. And again, if you agree with me that, okay, we need to nail both of these things, running the process, solving the problem, I think that makes us kind of the best and only choice if that's what you agree with, and we want to go and build an amazing product there. So again, vaporware, cute X demo, does it actually work? That's why Pete's doing the 45-minute live demo. Again, pray for Pete. We do have customers running us in production, though. I don't want to understate this. And I just want to share a few of the comments that we've had so far. So this is all about getting your hands on the tool. So we have demos in school night. You can go speak to our engineers, Martha, Lawrence, and co that help build this, and you can get really under the hood of how this actually works. And ultimately, I know there's a lot of customers in the room. We're trying to bring more people on board. So please come talk to us. We're excited to go show you everything that we've built. And with that, thank you very much. Very, very excited to have you all here. For the folks that are new to SEV0 and to Incident today, welcome. We are super excited to meet you all. To our customers, again, we started this company 4 years ago. We are very, very grateful. It was me, Pete, and Chris around a kitchen table. 4 years later, we're now in San Francisco. Folks from amazing companies across the world spending the day with us. It means a lot. And we're going to continue to kind of improve the service, the quality, the reliability that you're used to. And again, I think reliability is kind of what we always wanted. Like, that's what we were shooting for with incident response. And I think you can drive a real step change in reliability by applying AI to things. And with plenty of capital, an amazing team, and world-class customers, many of which are in the room today, I don't think we've ever been in a better position to go take advantage of that. So thank you all for your time. Welcome to SEV0, and excited to see you soon. Thank you.